a different show. It's donkey. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, on a free-for-all football Friday. Anywhere you want to take in the off season on these Fridays, wherever you want to take it, we could go. We could have fun with it. We could do whatever we want to do. Burger King's here. Good to see you, I guess. For a while there in the Dr. John, good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. For a while, when we were at the peak of all this, we had a Wendy's, we had Ronald McDonald, and a Burger King. Like only this show in America could come up with having a Burger King, the actual Wendy lady, and Ronald McDonald. The only part that would make it better is if the same guy was running all of them and switching between accounts to interact with one another. That's it. And we also had an Omar. Listen, it's good to see you, Pat. Where you been doing? Golfing or what? It's good to see you, buddy. I don't know where Omar is, but I'm getting worried. He was all invested. He was here every single day. And now he's just gone. Where's my man Omar? Working. What do you think this is, Pat? Where are your priorities? Welcome in, everybody. 312-988-15. Wherever you want to bring it, we can bring it. Let me start with this. We got a couple calls. We're going to be getting to you. Anybody got to make that paper? I hear you. Listen, Caden the man is here. What's going on, buddy? $2 holler, $2 holler, $2 holler. Get it going. Here's the deal. I'm just going to be, I need football. I am struggling this offseason mightily to focus and get, it's something about making it to the final game and having that big run and everything. And then it ends and you're upset with how it ends, but you want more. And there was such a high we were riding. And now it's just all the air's out of the balloon. And you're just sitting here like, now what? What comes next? What comes next? And it's just, I don't have for some reason, I just don't have the patience that I've had in these other off seasons. There's something unique about the way this season ended that is making me want more and want it sooner, and I don't want to wait. And so I don't know if anybody else is feeling that as well. But I'm just antsy to see what's going to come next out of this program. I'm antsy to see whether Notre Dame can parlay this into 2 really, really good years, or if this is going to be, you had one great year 3, everything lined up, easy schedule, whatever. You made a run, cute little Notre Dame, and you're going to revert back to 9-3, 10. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm just feeling this weird anxiety that's more than a normal offseason. I don't know if any of you guys are feeling that either. It's just, I don't know, man. It's weird. And I have this anxiety. And I'm going to address a question a few people have been asking me offline. People want to know where the chain is. People want to know where the chain is. And I have a very honest answer about that. God bless Mark with Glasses for creating the chain concept. When spring ball officially starts, we'll get the chain back. That's what I think we're going to do. The chain is swaggy, man. The chain's all about that swag. And I don't think you're allowed to do it when you lose the championship game. I don't feel right. It's like a braggadocious, flashy thing. And I don't think you're allowed to rock that chain when you lose a championship game. So when we turn the page and we're officially in spring ball and we're starting over and all that, the chain and that energy will come back. I just got to tell you, I just didn't feel like it. I don't feel like it's right to wear that chain after you lost to Ohio State. So it's over there resting. And when we get back, in the groove, then we'll crank the chain back up. Tom, told you guys about the women's basketball program. #1 in the country, #1 in the power rankings. Yeah, it's awesome to see them be #1 and all that stuff. Pat, you going to put that chain on after spring ball when Freeman announces Angeli's the starter? I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm thinking about it every single day. Not even necessarily, you guys. Not even necessarily who's going to end up being the starter. I'm really interested to see how Freeman sets this whole dynamic up when spring starts. 415, you're going to be first up. I'm interested to see how Freeman sets this up. I think it's going to be very, very telling when you get into the beginning of spring and Freeman's talking about the spring ball and whatever. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. How Freeman sets this dynamic up is going to tell me a lot about how it's going to go. Does that make sense to you guys? The difference between him saying, oh, Angeli was the backup and he has the most experience. He's the #1 guy running with the #1 reps. If you do that, you are setting up the dynamic in a certain way that lends itself to a most likely result. Think about the difference between that approach and, yeah, we're staying in-house. We like what we got. Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. This is an open competition. May the best man win. Everybody here is going to get a shot, whatever. A lot of how that position battle is going to end, to me, has a ton to do with how it starts. And it is so interesting to me. And you're going to find out where these guys' heads are at. And you're going to find out how Freeman wants to set this up. How much of a competition is it going to be? Right? So I don't know. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah, I still got those, by the way. I still got these, by the way. I'm not opening them. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to eat this. I ain't touching that. Pat, I did get it, but I got to check my flights. That's like within a day of when we're going to Florida. I got to check that. So I did receive it. But I got to figure out which day I'm leaving for Florida. So I'll look it up. I booked that flight a long time ago. I don't remember when it is. I thought that's what made you sick, Johnny. I know. Yeah, I'm not touching those things. So thanks for being here, everybody. If you want to call in, 312-900-8815. That's John's way of saying no. No, it's not. I'd like to go out there. It's just I can't if I'm going to be at Midway. Oh, boy. Johnny does not want your – I do not – I'm not touching those. I've had people tell me they're really, really good, and I'm not touching them. So if anybody else wants those poisonous Buckeyes, go for it. As always, thanks for being here. You can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Johnny out as well. Notifications on. That way you don't miss nothing. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you want it, you can get it. Call in lines 312-900-8815. You guys are funny. 312-900-8815. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by SI. Read all about it. Patreon.com/Always Irish. It's the former captain, the leading tackler, Mike Goolsby and myself breaking it all down. We have a good time over there. Thanks to everybody that's there, especially in the off season. Pat's going out to Ottawa to see the banker. Great idea where we're going to end up. Yeah, I'm having some flashbacks, Pat. I'm having some flashbacks because I know where your night's headed, buddy. Oh, man. Crying. It's funny when Mike pushes John on Patreon to give a real answer to a question, but it's low-key mean. Nuance. I always try and find the nuance. Commander, you're full of ideas. Why don't you call in and enlighten the class? 312-900-8815. Dial it up. You got all the answers. You want to tell me how to produce my show, what segments we're going to do. You know everything about Notre Dame. It's a Friday free-for-all. Call it up, dial it up, and tell me. J-Car, not the casino, but like, think of another place gentlemen would gather for an evening to enjoy some drinks and entertainment. You're on the right line of like dude entertainment, but think a different direction. And I think that's kind of where we're headed there. Polar plunge in the lake. Big party. What are you guys, nuts? Are you out of your mind? Too cold. Too cold. J. Carr. It's for gentlemen, okay? It's for gentlemen. All right? Classy gentlemen. The library. Yes, for sure. Pat's going to the library. All right, let's start it off with 415. We'll see what he thinks, and then we'll go from there. I'll get into some of my notes. We'll see how long we're going to go. I'm gonna record something with Mike, and we'll see. He might have to work. That's the problem. It's sometimes I forget that Mike has a full-time regular job. 415, what's going on? Good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you doing, everybody?
I'm doing well, my friend. It's just, I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this, but I just have a weird, different level of like anticipation for Notre Dame to get back to football again, man. And it's just different this year than it's been. And it's like, I want to I'm so frustrated with how it ended. I want to get back at it. Do you feel that? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, completely. Because it's something that we haven't had pretty much ever in our lifetime, right? Where we had this successful season. We had all these new things happening. We're in a college football playoff. And we make it all the way. And it's just one of those ones where now we got a taste of it. And you want more. I want more. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So it completely makes sense.
Yeah, dude. I just, for some reason, I'm like kind of lost. And I'm going to admit, I am struggling coming off of the high that most of this season was riding on, right? Like after week 2, you started to have that playoff pressure where you knew Notre Dame could not lose again. And so every game kind of had an extra ramped up intensity. And then you have all of the postseason stuff. And it was this high we all got addicted to, being wound that tight and having that much excitement and important games. And now I'm just struggling, man. I'm like coming off that high and I need that hit again. And we're just not going to have it for a really long time. And I'm admittedly struggling with that low. It's like, I need some juice.
Yes. And it's the lull of the offseason. And it's the fact that we know that you come to realization that we're in February right now. And yes, the spring game's coming up and we're looking forward to that. But then after that, man, it is a long stretch before we're actually having meaningful football. There's enough for us to talk about, of course, right? As far as all the different things that are happening in Notre Dame football and in the college football landscape. But as far as getting that satisfaction of watching football, of understanding what it is that we have within this team going into 2025, that's not going to happen until August. So it's tough. It's not easy. But at the same time, take the positives out of it, right? And the fact is that with the negative of the fact that we have to wait so long, the positive is that we have so much to look forward to within this team.
Yeah, it's and the other thing, I think I'm going to do a Patreon episode about this probably when I get done here, remember all the pressure for year 3? Remember all that, like year 3 historically at Notre Dame, year 3 for Marcus Freeman. It's time you got to put up a good year to show that this is trending in the right direction and line up with the history of who succeeded here and all this kind of stuff. You did all that. You had a very successful season, not ultimate success, but as close as you could get without it. And then now I'm sitting here finding ways to go, now this year 4 is every bit as important as year 3, because you got to show it wasn't a one and done. And you got to show that Notre Dame's going to be able to maintain the pressure never lessens. You get what I mean? Like, there's always a reason, a different way to bring a different level of pressure that adds up to the same amount of pressure. It's just what the talking points are. It doesn't lighten up. And now you've set a standard. Now you've set a bar of getting to a certain level. Nobody's here for regression, man. This is going to be a tough needle to thread.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that the pressure is there, like I've heard somebody say once that it's never been more so than now. And I thought about that as far as the pressure itself or the meaningfulness of these seasons. And the reality to me is that the pressure was still there, whether you were back in the Newt Rockne days, Frank Lee days, it doesn't matter. The pressure was there to win. It's on a different level and scale now, I think, as far as the media, as far as all the social media, as far as the boosters, the money, all the different things that go into college football nowadays. The fact that these players are getting paid, the fact that the contracts for the coaches are millions of dollars. And so there is a lot more added pressure coming in because of the fact that, hey, there's a lot more investment, coming in from the outside. And so, and not to mention with this society, right? Like, we are so instant gratification, need everything right here, right now, that we wanted it year 1, not year 3 or 4. It gets really cutthroat as far as, whether or not a coach or players are going to be sticking around, due to their performance on the field. So, and then on top of all that, you add in now a general manager position that it seems like is going to be divvied up as far as the responsibilities, between other people. And so now you have this whole other section of this pyramid tree of leadership that you have to now contend with in order to make sure that your program is going to be top notch. So it's just a totally different animal when you look at where we were even 5 or 10 years ago within the recruiting tree versus that of now the transfer portal, the massive amount of money that's being paid to not just the coaches, but now down to the players, and now these TV contracts getting bigger and bigger. And so the pressure is going to be, it's going to be a lot. But again, it comes down to the X's and O's. And that's where, if you're going to be, Marcus Freeman and these other coaches, you've got to just break it down to, okay, there's all that other stuff that we have to handle. Yes, absolutely. But if you break it down to the X's and O's and get it on the field, that's where you're going to win.
Yeah, it's and then let me ask you this, because this has been on my mind too lately, and I don't know whether I'm overthinking it because of the time of year we're in, and there's not much going on, or what. 219, I think it might be the commander. That'll be interesting. We'll get his analysis. What is your honest concern level about Ash taking over this defense? We have been so used for so long to this defense being the backbone of the program, and we all know, what that means and everything. Do you have any concern about some regression there? Or what if the Ash thing just doesn't work? And then what does that do if Notre Dame's defense is no longer the rock you could depend on? Am I over worrying about it? Or do you expect a smoother transition than I do? Or am I just worrying because I'm a worrier? What are your thoughts about this?
I wouldn't say that I am worried about it or concerned about it. I am expecting there to be learning curves, and I expect there to be times where they're going to have to, how do I put this? They're going to have to figure out where Ash fits in this system with Marcus Freeman. The reason why I'm not concerned is because of the fact that Marcus Freeman is there. I'm putting in all my, my chips on the table in the fact that this guy is going to be able to lead us forward and make us, get into the championship game and actually win it. And by doing so, by putting forth all the faith into him, I feel like he's going to be able to direct Ash and whoever the new coaches are coming in, as well as new players, into that championship level. Now, we're used to Golden, right? Last 3 years, you get used to somebody. You get used to the fact that we're successful. You get used to the fact that we're this perennial defense and that we can lean on them. And so when that changes, it's just human, natural human behavior to sit there and think to yourself, well, what's this next one going to be? Now, it could be better. It could be a little worse. But as far as regression, I don't think it will be worse, and I don't think it'll regress. I think it's going to be just a bunch of learning curves as we go. But at the same time, we have so many pieces to the puzzle set in place. Mickens saying these, and Freeman being a defensive-minded coach, I just feel like it will fit and work because of the fact that the leadership is there in order to kind of guide it into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Andrew Gilmore says, I worry about replacing a ton of experience on D more than I worry about Ash specifically. And I know people were talking before the show about interior D line is a concern. And I know some other Notre Dame content people are talking about what are you going to do there? So you do have some of that turnover in the program, and it's going to be interesting to see who you could fit in there. But I do think you bring up a fair point. It's important not to forget that the head coach at Notre Dame has a defensive history, and that's his strength. That should give you confidence that he kind of has an idea of what he's looking at here and how he wants to do things. And so I don't want to take that for granted. It's a piece of uncertainty that I don't think you would have had to a different extent with Al Golden. I don't know what to expect, man. It's just an interesting hire, and not everybody was on board. And I don't know what you're going to get, but it better be good enough. And it better be good enough week one. You have no leeway.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. We were talking about this when it came down to the quarterback battle, right? Is the fact that we're wondering who's going to be the leader on the offensive side of the ball. Riley Leonard's gone. Okay, so who's going to be? Is it going to be Carr, Minchie, and Jelly? Who is going to be stepping up? And now knowing that person is going to be going into their very first start, it will be on the road against Miami, in that kind of environment. And you're going to need to be able to lean back on that defense, because it might take, as we were talking about learning curves, it might take a little bit of growing pains here for the offense just to get kind of gelled up, especially in that first quarter, right? So we don't want to sit here and get down by too much if the offense is struggling. We need that defense to hold us in play. And that's where I think that's actually going to be probably the biggest key to that game, is going to be the defense to start in order to allow the offense to gel. Because more than likely, I could already see Miami putting 8 in box, because they're going to sit there and they're going to say, we're going to stop the run, because we know that three-headed monster of the running game is going to be, utilized. So they try to stop our run, forcing us to pass in order to see what we have with the offense, and what we have with this quarterback. And if for some reason there's a struggle point in there, then we need that defense to come up. So it's understandable to sit here and wonder, hey, is Ash going to be the guy? Is he going to be the one to implement the defense and utilize these pieces in order to, create this perennial D that's going to take us deep in the playoffs? Because that's what we expect now.
Yep. Yeah. It's, did you see that Carson Beck got his car stolen the other day? He had 2 luxury.
Oh my God.
He had 2 luxury cars, and I think they both got stolen. I remember I saw that story on Twitter. I think it was in Miami, and it was a Maserati and something else. And he got his cars jacked. So it's hey, welcome to Miami, buddy. You're our quarterback. Now we're gonna see it. Like the guy just gets to town and then they gank all of his stuff. 3 cars stolen, two of his at his GFs. Yeah, it's called Welcome to Miami. Welcome to town, buddy. We love you.
100%.
And this is what's happened.
100%.
They didn't even lose a game yet, and they stole all the guy's cars. I'm afraid of what's gonna happen if he doesn't win every game.
Well, and this is one of those things, like when you look at it, you know, on a more like kind of serious level, is that these kids are making a lot of cash, right? And now they're going out and what are you going to do when you're 19, 20, 21 years old? You're going to flash it out. You're going to have your fun. You're going to hit the town and you become that target. And so they got to be careful. Like these kids have got to be careful because you're going to be taken advantage of. I mean, we saw in the NFL, you had that, what was it, the burglary ring, which they actually just caught the guys who were going around to like Travis Kelce and like all these other guys' homes, right?
But weren't
they stealing their stuff while they're at the game?
But weren't they putting it on social media? Didn't they catch those guys?
Yeah.
Because God, how stupid could you be if you almost get away with robbing all this stuff, but you just can't resist recording it for TikTok mid-robbery? What is wrong with you people? Can't you even steal right?
John, my dad used to say, common sense is not that common. And I'll tell you, they didn't have that much common sense. I mean, it's like you were getting away with it for 2 years. You're robbing all these homes. You're coming away with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And then you do one dumb thing and bam, what do you think was going to happen? You know? So as far as these kids, you know, and Beck and whoever else, it's like, just be smart with the cash, you know, get somebody else to help you out as far as, you know, what you spend it on and hopefully they can, you know, make the right decisions. But the fact that he moved to Miami and he has his car stolen,
it's hilarious to me. Welcome to town, buddy. Welcome to town, buddy. You're our new quarterback. It's a great way to welcome somebody to the program. And the other thing I'm thinking about, man, is I just keep thinking about the beginning part of this schedule and how big of a swing it's going to be between 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2, whatever it's going to be, how it's going to shape everything. And there's just no leeway. And I'm already thinking about it. You have got to be ready. You got to be ready right away. The quarterback, like what you got, whatever you're going to do, you got to be ready.
Yes. And that's why, you know, we talked about the pressure and the pressure will be to have everybody ready as much as they possibly can be come week 1 because of the fact that we're going to be dealing with just two hostile teams, one on the road, one at home. And then again, you know, I keep circling that Arkansas game. And it's just that SEC country going down there in September. I don't like it. You know, I don't like it because of the fact that, again, everybody still thinks they have a shot at the championship early in the season, right? So it is very front loaded and it's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of, you know, eyes on what it is that we're building because we did remove a lot of pieces and now we're implementing a lot more new pieces. And how are they going to fit? How are they going to gel? You know, I have faith in it, but I am most certainly sitting there wondering, okay, let's see it, you know, because proof will be on the field.
Yeah, it's and the other thing, I did a Patreon about this the other day, talking about the challenge of a schedule isn't necessarily only what teams are on it, but how they line up and when you play the teams that are on your schedule, because things change over the course of the year. Like you said, when it's game 1, everybody's going to believe they have a chance for a championship and nobody's down and out yet. And like Miami's going to be cocky. They're at home. They're going to think it's just, they're a team where if things go bad, sometimes they go in the crapper, they go down in the tank. You're not going to have any of that. They're going to think they're in it to win it, and you're going to have all those loud people, and you need to go in there and shut them down and shut them up. There's no other way. I'm already thinking about it 7 months ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know exactly what's coming. If we get the ball first and we go 3 and out, you know, a couple runs and one incomplete pass or something like that, and that crowd is going to go berserk. And it's just, you know, and then again, you got the young QB in there. And so it's just, things tend to snowball. And when the younger you are and the more impressionable you are, the faster those snowballs can create. And so it's just one of those ones where we have to be, we as like the coaching staff for Notre Dame has to get in there and they have to build the confidence as best they can, with these young kids and get them ready for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's and the other thing I wonder is, will this program have any different feel to it after the success of last season? Like, is there like more confidence that you can see in the program, or are they a little bitter about the way things ended? And they're like, I'm wondering if there's going to be any residuals there, either of confidence after a good year or bitterness that it didn't end the way you wanted. Or if it's just a clean slate, new personalities, and it just kind of starts over. Like, I'm wondering if there's going to be a carryover or just a fresh start. I don't know what to think.
Well, I think there's a combination of it all, right? I mean, there's going to be a combination of the fact that, yes, there's going to be carryover of the kind of the juice that we're all feeling from that last season and for how far we got. I do believe that, that's going to carry over, especially with the coaching staff. They got a taste of it. Now they're seeing how this is going to be being played out, and they're starting to learn, right? They learn from their mistakes. They start implementing different strategies. They bring in new coaches with different ideas. They bring in different players through the portal and wherever else, and they're gearing up to better themselves as a total, right? So I think that's going to carry over. As far as like bitterness from the championship, use that as fuel. And I think that's a really good trait that a lot of coaches have, is they don't let it like kind of eat them up to the point where they're not able to do their job. It's more of the idea of you use it as fuel to generate a better team, right? To generate a better coaching staff, to generate better results in the future, because what that feels like. They watched the confetti fall for Ohio State. Nobody likes Ohio State. And you don't want that to happen again, right? So how are we going to be able to better ourselves in the future so that we don't have to have that feeling again? So use it as fuel rather than that as beating you up is what I would hope. But of course, with raw emotions of a championship and, the pain and the hurt of losing something like that. But again, we're so young in this, as far as like the coaching staff, as far as the new format coming out of the college football playoffs and where that's going to go. And as far as like with the general manager and like all these different things, everything is so new, and we're right at the beginning stages and we got the new people in. So it's just a matter of time. Yeah, in my opinion.
It's it's really, really interesting. And it's a changing, evolving thing. And Notre Dame's trying to make sure they have a seat at the table and where we fall into the new puzzle. And like I don't know whether Notre Dame's going to be in a good spot being independent or if they're going to get squeezed and it's going to end up pushing us. I don't know. But for now, what we did certainly seemed to work. Look at the results, right? Like there's a proof of concept. Right. There's proof of concept Notre Dame could do it their way. I used to question, why would I think Notre Dame could? You haven't won a major bowl game in 30 years, and I'm to expect you to win a string of 3 or 4 of them in the same year. What are the odds of that? Well, they shut that up real quick because they went ahead and almost did it. I mean, they did it. They got hot at the right time, won 3 of those games. So the proof of concept is there that Notre Dame could operate this way and hang. So Notre Dame probably doesn't feel need to change anything right now.
Correct. Absolutely, John. I completely agree with you. I was very on the last show, we talked about the Big Ten and the SEC and how they're, getting 4 guaranteed spots and all these different things coming in 2026, right? And going to 14 and 16 teams. And I was my raw emotion for me was annoyance and irritated because it felt like the big bullies, they have the all the power, and they're just like kind of like, well, we might have a 4-loss team, but we're guaranteed 4 slots, so they're in. And you're like, oh, come on, man, you know. But the reality is, we are in a really good spot. The more I looked at the format, the more I kind of read into the kind of the way it's built up, there is that one guaranteed spot for Notre Dame specifically, depending upon how we do. So If we are 2 losses or less, I feel like we're in almost every single year. And that is very doable, whether we're the, 13th team or the 14th team or the 5th team is a whole different, kind of ball game as far as are we going to get a home playoff game or not. So that's where the importance of the regular season is still there, right?
Yeah.
We still have to win those games. But as far as being independent, look what happened. We got $20 million and didn't have to split it with anybody.
Yep.
And that is an incentive in itself. Now, the flip is true, and I think you brought this up either last show or the show before.
Betting on yourself.
You're betting on yourself.
Yep.
But hey, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah.
I don't want to. It's like it's okay. I don't want to split it with anybody else.
Yeah,
and the
like
fact that we know that we can make these runs. Let's go.
Yeah,
we know we can make these runs. I'm in. I'm all in on betting on ourselves.
Yeah, you could argue it's the most righteous path because you either earn the money or you don't, and it's all up to you, and you are not, beholden to anybody else's piece of the pie or anything else. It's all you. Hey man, I really appreciate you. You're being a really reliable, good off-season caller here. Anything on the way out? Good talking to you again.
No, John, always a pleasure to talk with you, man. And it's one of those ones where, for so many years in my life, this period between February and August has always been brutal. Yeah. And now having these outlets, of talking with you and listening to your other callers and, reading the chats and just kind of keeping in the mix, it keeps those juices flowing. And it's actually a really good therapeutic thing, I think, for all of us. So kudos to you. Thank you very much for doing this. And I will talk to you again soon.
I appreciate it, man. Have a really, really good weekend. And we'll be back at it Monday. Give me a call. Really good caller. Really good off-season caller. Stretch our legs. Commander time. I got to blow my nose. It is Commander time. We're going to see what the Commander thinks. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. Commander. You guys are still hilarious. Commander, what's going on, buddy? Happy off season. Yo,
free for all. Freaky Friday.
Ooh, wow. That sounds like where Pat's going later. What's on your mind, my friend? I know you always have a lot of thoughts. What's on your mind?
John, I have to put a charge against you.
Okay.
That is the charge of hypocrisy.
For what reason?
The double standards that I've been seeing on some of the videos. For example, USC conference champions. Okay, first off, what we have to understand is college football has changed. As I stated in the comments earlier, the times of change is here. Season games, the in-season games mean nothing. Okay?
Okay. So
why would any team whose goal is to reach the playoffs want to invite a challenge that could possibly derail that goal? And same for Notre Dame. If Notre Dame's smart, especially because we're independent, we don't have to go out and schedule Ohio State. We don't have to schedule, Alabama or, I know Alabama's coming up in the future, but why would we want to do that?
Yeah,
as fans, we might say, well, because it's the exciting game, that's what college football is. Okay, I agree with that, and I don't like the changes that are happening, for the record. But at the end of the year, if you make the playoffs, you've got an opportunity to go out and play 3 or 4 games that are going to be against top 10, 15 opponents.
I think there's 2 different theories on this that I have heard and seen talked about. One theory is what you just said of why would anybody want to schedule an out-of-conference tough game or whatever when it's all about making the playoff and all you're trying to do is minimize losses on that side of your ledger. The other argument I've heard is if they keep expanding this playoff, you're going to be able to make it with 3 or 4 losses. Maybe it relieves some pressure and some teams want to schedule some other good games for all the attention and all that because they figure they can lose 3 games or 4 games and make the playoff, especially if you're going to get 4 teams in from the Big Ten and the SEC every year. Maybe that actually encourages people to schedule a couple good big games. I don't know. I've seen both of those theories.
Well, that's what they are. It's speculation and theories. You're speculating this or you're speculating that. But and what I would speculate if we're going to go down go down that road is that if the playoffs does expand, there's going to be a couple games in the season that get dropped. Instead of playing 12 games, maybe you only play 10.
Oh man, that would be tough because who wants to give up that money? Right? Isn't it all about money? Who's going to give up guaranteed money?
Well, it is, but the ones that have the money and that make the rules are going to be getting the money every year. The Big Ten, the SEC, they're not going to be missing out on a payday. So to drop a couple games, I could see that happening, something along those lines, possibly.
Do you think that Notre Dame is going to get...
No, back to my original statement of the charge of hypocrisy. Where do I get that from? You may wonder. Okay, when the shoe was on our foot, I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I'm saying when the shoe was on our foot, half of the group, and when we got to playoffs, half of the group wanted to play Georgia. The other half wanted to play Indiana. You were on the side of playing Indiana because it was a perceived easier route to advancing.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
Now, well, nothing. At the time, I was on the Georgia. I'm saying, no, let's see what it's about. Let's play Georgia, which we did, and we won, and we're reigning SEC champs.
Yeah.
But the point is that, we went out and did that. Notre Dame did. And, but with your view on that game, it was, we want the easiest route. So the same thing with, say, USC wanting to drop Notre Dame when, Notre Dame's not their true rival. Or if conference champions, you said the other day, well, it's not fair. Conference champions should want to play in their conference championship, but yet we don't play in a conference championship. And why would you want to? If they say, well, hey, whoever has the best record in the year is going to be conference champs, why is that in that conference would you say, well, let's play a game anyways?
Well, the first thing is is it fair to lump in my thoughts about the playoff with the regular season? You're kind of lumping them in together about who I want to play or whatever. I look at the playoff totally different than a regular season pre-scheduled game, right?
Well, I can't really see the reasoning in separating the two.
I did one of them you could pre-plan, and
a loss is a loss.
I'm just having trouble with the blending of my theory on the postseason with the regular season. I think conference championships might go away soon. I just think you might award it to the best team in your conference and then have a tiebreaker if there's a tie on paper, and then they get the trophy in theory, and then you get ready for the playoff. It wouldn't surprise me if that happened, because who wants to play in that game now when all the teams that did struggled after that in last year's playoff, and the conference championship shine has kind of come off because it's all about the playoff? I wouldn't be surprised if all these conferences start doing away with that. I don't know if it's all about the postseason now.
Correct. I agree. I mean, why would you want to? Why would you want to risk injury? And that's why, like I say, if they do expand the playoffs, I could see them dropping at least a game off the schedule, just for the injuries, the amount of injuries that, we've seen Notre Dame wrap up this year.
But do you think anybody cares about that when they just want TV money? Don't you think we're past the point of caring about these guys? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm jaded to the point where I just think it's about TV money, and that's going to drive the discussion, not are we putting too much physicality on these kids? We basically played a pro season last year.
Yeah, but there again, then that would go back to when I was trying to make a point on the scheduling is you're not going to want to schedule difficult opponents. You're going to want to make your schedule as easy as possible during the season. If you're going to have to play 12 games, and so you can get you're done by halftime and you got your backups in, that would go right back to reinforcing a weaker schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. And then what does Notre Dame do if people just quit scheduling them? Like, if what you said happens and people want loss reduction, loss management, and they don't want to play Notre Dame, where does that box Notre Dame in? Like, that's the other angle, right?
So here's the thing that I know people will say, oh, it would be a stupid idea, for different reasonings, and they'll say recruiting, and they'll say, just pride, whatever they want to say. But go join one of these weak conferences. Go join, somebody from the group of five has to go every year. You join one of them conferences, you run that every year, you can go out and I said this the other day, and somebody said, oh, that's the stupidest idea that, I've ever heard. You would destroy recruiting. Well, I don't know that would necessarily be true, because you can go out and you can tell this guy, hey, I guarantee if we get you and these other guys, we'll be in the playoffs every year. You're going to play, in the biggest games of the year, because we're going to walk through our conference and be conference champs, and we're locked in and guaranteed.
Don't you think that something would be adjusted if Notre Dame took that angle to try and juke the system? I'm certain that as soon as the paperwork's dry, the Big Ten
would be the ultimate middle finger.
The Big Ten and the SEC would change the rules for Notre Dame right after the ink's dry on the contract, right?
It's just an idea.
Man, and you're talking.
I don't know. I don't like the way it's all going.
But I mean, you're talking about like Notre Dame and all this stuff, and it's like, are we scared to go do this and that? Now you want to jump down to the group of five just to book the playoff every year?
Yeah.
I just think they would change. They would change whatever they're doing, Luke. They would change it for a Notre Dame problem to cause.
No, I know they're not going to do it. I know they're not going to do it because they're going to say, "Well, we're above that." Well, I'm not. I want to get in. I don't care what we got to do it, how to get in, how we get in, just as long as we're in every year.
Yeah, and the reality is, if you keep expanding the way they're talking about expanding, shouldn't 10-2 Notre Dame be solidly right in the middle of the playoff pack every year? Even in a 10-2 down year, if they keep expanding, I think Notre Dame at 10-2 is right in the playoff every year at 10-2. If you expand, you're going to have 4 lost teams.
Probably, but like I said, some of these other teams are just not going to want to schedule them anymore. And you do lose a few games. So, I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but Yeah, no, they should be in there at 10-2.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
man, it's going to be
I
interesting.
can't see many scenarios where they shouldn't make it if it's the expanded playoffs.
Yeah.
And they're 10-2.
Hey, Commander, I got to ask, are you going to show up at the blue and gold party this year or what? Come on out, buddy. Hello?
Yeah, what's that?
I said, are you going to come to the blue and gold tailgate this year? Get out there. Let's go.
I better, because it might be the last one.
Yeah, I know, dude.
With the way things are
No,
going.
dude.
Other schools have already canned them. Forget about it. We ain't doing it.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm seeing that become a trend. What do you think is driving that? They don't want to get injured, or they don't want to, like, what do you think is driving the trend of these teams not doing spring games? He's gone. God bless the Commander, man. I know you never know what you're going to get out of him. God bless him. He don't call often, but when he does, he just unloads on wherever he's at. God bless him. But I hope he shows up. Kids who the transfer portal. Okay, so everybody's saying if they're not getting enough snaps and the writing's on the wall in the spring game or whatever, that they're not going to play, then they leave. Is that the point? But why do you need the actual spring game Why do you need the actual spring game definitionally to realize that, right? Like, they're not canceling spring. Explain this to me. I don't understand. 570, you're coming up next. Thanks for the call, Commander. Explain this to me. You're saying that guys that aren't going to play or whatever are going to hit the portal, and that's just based on the spring game the public sees? What about 3 weeks of practice? I don't understand. It's not like the blue and gold game is when you realize that you're third string. You know way before all that where you stand. So I don't understand. These teams put their spring game on TV now, so it creates game tape for kids to offer to others. So what? I don't know, man. Can't you throw the fans a bone? You got all these loyal fans of all these teams, and you can't put together a 2-hour scrimmage, and now that's too much too? Whatever, man. They could practice in scrimmage. We don't need to see it. Whatever. I just thought it was a kind of a gift for your loyal fan base and to give everybody a reason to come back to campus or whatever. And whatever. Yeah, I don't see Notre Dame getting rid of it, but like whatever. WPP, $10 hour. ND has no trouble getting teams on the schedule. A lost ND does not hurt conference record, which is the ticket to the playoff for these teams. A win helps the AD save his own ass if the team beating ND flops in conference play. That's a good way to look at it as far as that balance each way. Thanks for the donation, WPP. Really appreciate it. 570, welcome to the show. My main man, Martinez, after that.
Oh, shit.
What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Hello.
Jerry.
Shit. What's going on?
What's up?
No, man, at work, but I had to call in. Even though
At work? Where do you work at? A nightclub? What do you mean?
No. I work at it's called Fit AF. We make nutrition food for people. But it's 570, John. You know, we've been had these calls before. You know, I got you in my headphones and all that. I'm making a cup of coffee right now. I haven't called in since we lost the title game. I mean, I still can't believe that we ran the zero blitz on third down and left Christian Gray by himself on an island. But whatever, we'll get over that eventually.
Yeah.
You know?
So what do you make of it, man? Are you confident Notre Dame can maintain this momentum, or do you think they're going to fall back after a successful third year of Freeman?
Considering I've been a lifelong Notre Dame fan, I'm going to assume that we're going to fall back into purgatory.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know,
yeah, I get it. That's fair.
But in reality, I still believe that with Marcus Freeman under the helm, that we're going to be a lot better. We're going to be a lot better off. So I think with the 14 to 16 team format, I think it'll be a little bit harder for us. I think this was our year. And I think if we get that stop right then and there, I actually think we win the game because I think we go down, score, and get 2, and we have all the momentum. But if we can make it to a national title game with a quarterback that can't throw the ball worth a shit, but I mean he did good drop some dimes, but I think we can get back. I mean, I think we need to start Kenny Minchie or CJ Carr. I think it's time for Jelly to hit the portal. I'm really glad Al Golden's gone because I'm so pissed off that he ran a zero blitz on third down and left our freshman cornerback on an island with the best receiver in college football. But, you know, everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not really excited for the hire that we have. I don't really know him. A lot of people say it's a good hire, but whatever. But you know what? This season was special for me just because, finding out my dad has cancer. We just had his PET scan. Now he's nervous as shit. We find out what stage what stage cancer he has today. And, I got to experience it with him. And I think the depression and the fear is going to kill him before the cancer. But, at least I got to watch a magical season with him. And you know what? If we don't stay in relevancy, at least I got to experience this with my father this year. That's the main thing, man.
Yeah, it's you got to maintain this though. Nobody's satisfied. You got to show that you're here to stay. Notre Dame's got to punch their ticket to the playoff again. You got to maintain momentum.
Absolutely. But I just love the direction we're going. I just think I just don't see us. I don't see us with this new college football system, man. I don't see us going back into the purgatory. Like, this isn't Brian Kelly's team. I think LSU is going to experience the Notre Dame experience we had. And I truly believe with Marcus Freeman, we just hired the GM from the NFL. You know what I mean? We had the NIL money to back us. We got that cornerback from Alabama. I don't see us. We're in the playoff every year, and if we're in the playoff, we got a chance. Just like March Madness, everybody got a chance.
Yep, it's all about rolls at the dice, and the more often you're in it, and the more experience and success you have in the playoff, it should breed more. And I believe that you got to maintain momentum. So I don't know, my friend. It's going to be really, really interesting. Anything else on your mind? Thanks for giving me a call on a busy Friday.
Yeah. How do you feel about the direction of the program as it's going now? Do you feel like we're more so in the like the direction of Brian Kelly, or do you feel like we're more in the direction of like a Nick Saban type of turnaround?
Right now,
because you remember he lost Louisiana Tech.
Yes, he did. Right now, I think you're in the middle of that. You're in between that. I cannot say you're on a Nick Saban trajectory, but you also already accomplished more than you ever did in the Kelly era. So I think you're somewhere in the middle with a lot to prove. You got to show you're not a one and done. You got to get back there.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, we did play a $20 million roster, and we were one third down play away. I really think we should have won that game, but we went flat-footed after that first touchdown, and that sucked. And I've been beating the shit out of Ohio State on EA College Football on my Xbox, and every time I play him, I make sure to play man coverage because Al Golden's a dick. Excuse my language, but yeah, man, I think we're right there. I think we're right there. We're on the cusp of becoming something special, and I think Marcus Freeman is the man to lead us.
Yeah, I like that, man. And it's all about maintaining this. You got to maintain the momentum. You cannot fall back out of the playoff. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it.
You too, bud, John.
Have a good one. Dude. Am I like, you guys tell me, I feel like I'm in some weird Twilight Zone. Everything feels weird on this show today. I don't know. There's just a weird vibe. I just feel it's just kind of weird. I feel like everybody's living a more exciting Friday than I am. I have no idea what's going on. I thought that guy was in an all-night nightclub. Was I not hearing hip hop? I have no idea what's going on today. Bye, Pat. See ya. Oh, man. All right. Nose break, and then I'm coming back. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air, and we'll see what else we get today on a Friday. I don't know what the hell's going on. I really don't. Man, this is wild stuff. This is I don't know what we're doing. Taj, what's going on, man? It's been a long time since you come. My main man Martinez coming up. What's up, Taj?
Hey, how you doing, John?
I got my last call. Listen, my call log here says September 2nd. It has been a long time since you called. What is going on?
Yes, yes, it has. But I've been listening every day, so I'm still kind of caught up. Really, just on the thoughts of all these programs canceling the spring games and stuff like that. I really think, Andrew kind of said it in the chat. They are kind of just scared of giving all these colleges basically a free look at their guys, not just necessarily the players that probably won't play, but they don't want to lure some of those other kids that, might be fighting for playing time. They think they might be able to get. So I think that he's just kind of scared to lose half his roster in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess my question would be, is the spring game really the thing that makes and breaks that? I just feel, I don't know, man, but I'm seeing it as a trend and there's got to be a reason. But it's just weird to me that you're going to get
away at it than anything else.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. And then maybe there's something.
I mean, especially at a place like Nebraska. I mean, this isn't the Nebraska in the early 90s, all right? Like, kids aren't clamoring to go to Nebraska.
Yeah.
So they want to keep them on the roster. Texas is being paranoid, and USC, well, Stinking Lincoln is running that program, and he's already scared. He's had 3 mediocre seasons in a row. He doesn't have Caleb Williams to hide behind anymore, and he's scared that people are going to see the writing on the wall. That's why he wants to back out of the Notre Dame game. I mean, remember, he left Oklahoma because he was scared about joining the SEC. So just all of his actions kind of make sense.
Man, I'm telling you, that guy is not doing himself any favors with the LA media contingent, man. He's limiting their access, getting mad at them for their questions. Now there's no spring game. I heard he was banning certain outlets that were reporting negatively on USC, banning them from being at practice and stuff. I don't think it's not gone well between Lincoln Riley and the local LA media. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, he's losing recruiting battles. He doesn't feel like he should be losing, because, again, this ain't Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll could build a fence around Southern California and keep in all that talent.
Yeah.
He can't do that.
Yeah,
we're getting his best guys. Oregon's getting his best guys.
You're 100% correct. I think the thought was with Lincoln Riley out west, they thought they were going to have the pick of all the top end West Coast talent, and anybody they didn't want could go to Notre Dame, go to Oregon, go to Washington, do whatever you're going to do. That is not worked out. They are not doing a good job of keeping that top end local talent. And if USC doesn't run that region, you're screwed. You have got to eat up all that West Coast top end talent, especially in state in California. There should be no reason they lose those guys, and they're losing them.
Yeah, and it's just kind of what it is. I mean, our trajectory as a program, I feel like the guy was saying, are we between like Nick Saban or Brian Kelly? Well, Kelly kind of just got complacent. Like once he started consistently winning 10 games, he just kind of like, okay, this is my plateau. This is about as hard as I'm going to work. Coach Freeman's a lot more ambitious than that. He's trying to scribe. He's trying, where can we get better? How can we get better? What's the easiest path to do that? So I think as long as he still has that fire in his belly, which I'm sure he does, the program's going to keep building. Even if he's got to improvise a little bit. I don't think the expanding of the playoffs is going to hurt us at all. I think we're still going to be able to find our way to get in where we fit at.
Yeah, it's it's going to be really, really interesting. Whenever you expand, it's just going to change the dynamic, and it's a wider net, more flexibility. You're going to have more teams able to lose more games and still make the tournament. It just makes me think 10-2 Notre Dame's in it every time, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude, if you're going to go with 4 teams from the Big Ten and the SEC, some of them are going to end up with 3 or 4 losses and be automatically included. I'm telling you, that's coming. So when you look at that, and then if Notre Dame goes 10-2 even, they should be right in the middle of the playoff field then. I'm telling you, that's where it's going to go. If it's automatically you get 4 teams in and the SEC beats each other up, you're going to end up with 3 or 4 lost teams in this tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then like my last thing I was really wanting to go is just the quarterback battle. I'm really hoping Coach Freeman just has pulled these guys into the office one at a time and just been like, guys, this is going to be an open competition. That's probably what I'm going to tell the media.
Yep.
I need you guys to prepare. This is an open competition. It's too important. We have Miami week 1. The best out of the 3 of you is going to win. It's just, I'm kind of with Goolsby. Why not Kenny? I love what I saw from him at the spring game when I went there last year. And, Miami still has some talent, especially at edge rusher. And Steve terrifies me because he does not pick up pressure. I mean, if he can let Purdue blindside blitz and blow him up, what's going to happen when we play Miami or worse yet, when we play Texas A&M? Like, those guys definitely have edge rushers and linebackers that can come off the edge, and he won't hear coming.
Okay,
So,
what do you think the odds are that Angeli ends up being the starter? Like, if you had to give a percentage on it, looking at the guys vying for that job, what do you think the percentage is that it ends up going to Angeli, either for experience reasons or he earns it in the spring, or both? What do you think the odds of that are? Doesn't seem like you're all for it.
I'd say like 35 to 40%. That's only because of the experience.
Yeah, it's it's.
I just think the other 2 are more athletic.
Yeah,
and I just need one of them to either Kenny or CJ to just step up and just set and just show, hey, look, this high upside is what we need. Like, if you want our wide receivers better, fine, but we still have to be able to improvise and be able to win games. And I don't see Steve being able to improvise. Again, he did a great job. He's an accurate thrower in the pocket, and that's fine. But his pocket presence, he can't pick up blitzes very well. And that's going to be a problem when we know everybody's going to stack the box on us, because we have probably one of the better running back tandems in the country. They're going to keep that box loaded because they don't want Jeremiah Love or Price to break off an 80-yard run on them. So they're going to keep pressure on him. So that's where Steve is kind of more of a liability out of all the 3.
Yeah, it's man, there are some limitations there physically, but then the flip side of the equation is this. How open are Notre Dame fans to having a learning curve from a younger quarterback, right? If it's Carr or Minchie and it's their first time as the starter, there's going to be some rookie mistakes. Like, that's the downside, right? Is like, we all want to start with like a younger guy and build around him and all that. There's going to come with it growing pains. How open to those growing pains are Notre Dame fans going to be? I don't have the answer to that, but it is, there are going to be those problems.
Yeah, this is where like Mike Denbrock really kind of has to step in and protect this inexperienced quarterback and have to design the offense kind of around, okay, put more emphasis on the run game, more high percentage throws just to kind of get him, get him into a rhythm and get him loose. Design plays that what your quarterback is comfortable with running and start those off first. And then as he gets his confidence up, then we can start digging deeper into the playbook.
Yeah.
This is one of those things. You're right. There's going to be some growing pains, but this is where, as a coach, you got to step in and be like, okay, what can I do? What can my guy do well? Was he comfortable with doing? And how can we use that to exploit this opposing defense's weaknesses?
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's going to be a crawl, walk, run, no matter how anybody wants to say it. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. And we as fans are probably going to have to groan a little bit, but we have to give it a process. But I think we can weather the growing pains and still manage to win these games.
Yeah. And
but we just can't panic at the first sign of problem.
The best thing that could happen when I look at this schedule, and if you're going to go with one of the younger guys, you got to be able to run the ball. I think having an offensive line that is a monster right away is going to be a big, big deal, because that is your way to ease in a quarterback and not put all the pressure on a young guy's shoulders to win everything. If you could hand the ball off and move the pile, man, it's going to make whatever the quarterback it is life way easier.
Yeah, and that's kind of the edge. You're going to have to lean on an offensive line, We got to hope that we can get these tight ends back to 100%, because, you might have to, you might have to do some dump offs, some play routes. And yeah, let's use our running backs in the flats. Like, Aeneas Williams was a Swiss Army knife. I saw that even from the blue and gold game back in the spring. I said, watching him then, I was like, that kid is going to make his living as like a utility back, a Swiss Army knife, because he was a great receiver out of the backfield, and he came in clutch.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that,
would you, okay, now
looking at that.
Here's the question. Are you an advocate for Cider, the new running back coach? Do you want to see more touches for Jeremiah Love, who Pro Football Focus says is the number one back in the country, returning? Do you want to see more of a focus on him? Or do you still want to see a healthy rotation with Price and Aeneas and all that? What do you want them to do?
I still want to see the rotation, because I think Siders was still kind of doing that at Penn State. But I want to be more creative about how we use Jeremiah Love.
I like that.
Let him hit those middle screens or send him out on a wheel route, because the way we were doing it all last year, it would be Aeneas Williams that would, we'd bring him in and he'd do a lot of that type of stuff. So if you have Jeremiah and they're thinking, oh, well, they're just going to hand the ball off to him, and then we dump it off to him in the middle of the flat on a screen, and he, has all this open field, he might be able to, break it 10, 15 yards, or might even take it all the way. And then now that's just another headache that they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah,
now they're,
you're going to have options. It's going to be interesting. And if that O-line is cranked up early, that is your best path to victory in week 1 against Miami, regardless who the quarterback is. Play your good defense and have that offensive line ready to move some people. So I don't know, man. It's going to be really, really interesting. This spring's going to be really interesting. All the new faces and the moving parts. And nobody knows exactly what you're going to get out of spring ball and the quarterback thing and the new defensive coordinator and everything else. Change is the only constant, my friend.
Yep, that's why we love college football.
That's
Well,
it.
I'll let you know. I'll listen it on. So you have a good day, John.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Really good to talk to you again. It's been many, many, many months. 309, I saw you on the line. If you're still there and you want to call back, feel free. I predict Jeremiah Love's going to hurdle 2 guys at once this year. Didn't he say he was going to do one backwards? Didn't it, in that Super Bowl interview or whatever? I think it was on ESPN, and I'm pretty sure he said he was going to try and backflip over people, which is quite hilarious. Let me do a couple of these chats that I highlighted earlier in the show and then got busy on the phone lines. This is good, Mikey. My question for you today is, what are your favorite aspect of Freeman? What's Freeman's biggest flaw? I think Freeman's energy has changed this program in a way that it was so overdue and needed. 309, call me back. Freeman's energy, whatever you include that is, the communication, like the way, whatever it is, the energy change around this program now is something that was well overdue. And I think he's turning into a pretty good CEO type guy, managing things and having the right vibe and the right tone and everything. I think he's starting to do a really, really good job of that bigger picture CEO management type stuff. I need them to recruit better. You're asking me something that can improve. I need you to recruit better. I am not satisfied with the recruiting under Marcus Freeman so far. So if I'm picking an area, and that surprises me because I thought that would be one area where it would be a little easier for Freeman to be in the top 10 every year, whatever. I need them to recruit a little better. I like that you're finding diamonds in the rough and all this. I like all that. I need more high-end guys that are just kind of plug and play. That's something I'm looking at. WPP, what's going on? Welcome. Maybe.
Hey, John, it's Pat from West Palm.
Hey, what's going on, man? Happy Friday.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for taking the call.
No problem. What's up?
Look, I don't want to mix and match, but well, first of all, I want to say that the content on Patreon is really good.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate that. It's fun over there. It has a different vibe, Pat. It's weird. It's a different vibe. You can kind of stretch out.
It's a higher IQ forum.
Oh boy.
But that said, I want to talk a little bit about the Jeremiah Love issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because to me, Love, his body type reminds me a lot of CJ Procise. You remember Procise from about 10 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
That tall, kind of lanky running back. Procise also played receiver. Love was put at receiver last spring. I think there's a little bit of this comps there. I think Love is a better player than Procise, but they're similar. And if you remember the 2015 season, which is when Procise had his breakout, he got a lot more of the workload because, and man, somebody should stop me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the year Tarian Folston got hurt. And so Procise and then the freshman at the time, Adams, shared the workload from that point on. And Procise, the tall, lanky type, got dinged up as the season went on, and he was less and less effective as the season wore on, to the point of the bowl game against Ohio State. I don't think he could barely go. I think he played like 5 snaps. So, and I respect, your boy Goolsby, but I also think he's off base here, because if you try to dump a huge workload on Jeremiah Love, that's just not the kind of player he is. Now, I've used the word fragile. That's not an insult. I'm not insulting Jeremiah Love. I think Jeremiah Love is the best offensive player we've had probably since the Rocket, right? And And the Rocket was fragile. Holtz used to limit the Rockets' touches out of the backfield. If he could only carry the ball 3 or 4 times a game, that was it. And that because Holtz wanted to preserve the Rockets' ability to continue to make big plays for the whole season. So my point is, I think the stable, and I'm a big critic, John, of this coaching staff. Right? You've heard me criticize the coaching plenty of times, but I think they have the right of it this past season by being careful with Love, and this past season they held him back. They limited his touches. I think that was the right way to go. And that wasn't the right way to go in the championship game, because then it's, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you're not saving. There's nothing to save for at that point.
Yeah.
So what do you?
Yeah.
Do you think
go ahead.
There's like a fine line there, right? Because he is our number one best playmaker. The Pro Football Focus has him as the number one running back returning in the whole country. You want to maximize that. You want to showcase that. You want to utilize that. Give him a chance. So then there's like a line there where you have to decide what is the comfortable amount of touches for him in a game to maximize his output without wearing him down or risking injury or whatever. You got to figure out where that line is. And you don't want to undersell it and you don't want to overdo it. And I don't know the answer to that. Does it depend on who you're playing, Pat? Like if you're playing a better team, he needs to get more of a load. And if you think you're playing a team where you don't need that, you could rest him more. Like, how do you go about that equation?
I think it's just what you just said. And I think that, you see where a game is.
Right.
Look, if you're in a dogfight, you're trying to beat Miami, and in order to beat Miami, Love's got to, take the ball 20 times. I'm fine with that, right? You got to do what you got to do to win a game. But if we're playing, Boston College, and we're up 3 touchdowns in the fourth, and I don't want to get into the running up the score issue. I'm talking about Love now. Pull him out. You know what I mean? Like, I think the team's interests in winning games trumps a Heisman campaign. And I just don't think that Jeremiah Love has the body type to be what they call a workhorse back. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. And I wasn't knocking Love the other night on Patreon. I was just saying, look, he got hurt in the USC game, which was in November, right? And from what I heard, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but from what I heard, Love was able to run in a straight line just fine, but he couldn't cut. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true. That's what I heard. He couldn't cut. And that persisted from what I was told, from what I read. Who the hell knows what the truth is? That's what I heard. That was true up until January. So my point is, not everybody's bodies are the same. Not everybody recuperates at the same rate. I'm not insulting the guy, Love, but I am saying that he's a guy you got to be very careful with.
Yeah.
And so
it's
going to be the needs of the team come first.
Okay. Now the final question with this dynamic is, you have a new running backs coach. And I wonder if his vision for the usage of all these backs and what he wants to do, I wonder if it lines up pretty similar to what Dylan was doing, or if this guy's going to come up with like a little different version in his mind of how to best deploy all of our backs. I'm really interested to see that, because you got a new coach, a new vibe. Maybe he thinks of things a little differently, or maybe more the same. He did a good job with the 2-back stuff at Penn State. So I don't know what that guy's going to think.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's interesting, John. I confess to some ignorance here. I don't know who decides who goes in on what play and what, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the offensive coordinator calls a play. The running backs coach then decides which player is going to execute that play. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, only because maybe the offensive coordinator is calling a play thinking he's getting Love, to execute it. when in reality, the running backs coach is the guy saying, no, Price is going to run this. I don't know how that works. I really don't know how it works.
Yeah, that's a good
Maybe
question.
It's like different packages.
Yeah, that's a really good question
Yeah,
about matching the personnel for what you want to do and maximizing each play. It's a good question. So I don't know what this new guy's, how he's going to want to do it. It's a tedious equation because you want to be on the right side of it and you don't want to underdo it and you can't overdo it. You got to find a sweet spot that maximizes what you're doing there. And I don't have the exact input on the equations of that, but I'm with you. You got to find what most maximizes this without wearing him down and helping the team. It's not the easiest calculation to know.
Yeah, no, and I'd love to see Love win a Heisman. I would. It's just, I also am, concerned for the young man a little bit in that I don't want to see him get beat up such that he has to sit for 5 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's a very
fine
hard
line.
I don't think it's as cut and dried, and I don't think his body type is such that he's, a 25 carry a game guy, unless you're playing for the national title or in a dogfight to try to get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
you got to do what you got to do. But I got the impression that the other night I was angering your boy Goolsby. That wasn't my intention. I used the word fragile. I'm limited to these comments, right? I used the word fragile. I wasn't trying to insult Love at all.
Yeah,
I was just
I got what you
point that.
Yeah, I got what you were saying. And how you were trying to get the point across. Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting, man. We're going to see how it's going to go. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for calling me on a Friday.
No, I just want to reiterate that the Patreon stuff is really good.
Oh, thank you.
It's good stuff, and anybody considering doing it should do it. Do it. It's good.
Thank you.
It's great. It's great off-season stuff, and it's even better in-season stuff. So I just wanted to say.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend, WPP. Take care. Thanks for the donation, man.
Be good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. 309. I'm coming to you after I read this comment. Best aspect of Freeman is true humble leadership. Yeah, I think that's kind of in that wheelhouse of what I was talking about with like the vibe and all that stuff and the energy that this program needed. The program needed a change of energy desperately, even though it was a 10+ win a year program. It was sleepy. There was no electricity, no vibe, no energy. Even though you're a 10+ win program every year towards the end of Kelly, it was sleepy, man. There was just no vibe, no electricity. Biggest flaw is lack of experience, which should lessen every year. That's fair. Recruiting is actually good. You're focused more on recruiting rate. It's not good enough. I don't care what anybody says. It's not good enough to me. It's just not. You're focused on recruiting ranking. I'm also focused on having enough elite talent to beat Ohio State. Is anyone, Texas Chris, are you going to tell me you don't think Ohio State's 14 5-stars to R1 had an impact on us losing and not winning the championship? How can anybody honestly say that? So yeah, to some extent, I am focused on ranking. I need you to not lose the top-rated guys in your recruiting class every year. How about that? Is that not fair of me to say? You're not going to win a championship if you're losing the top-rated guys out of every one of your recruiting classes year after year after year. You're not. You're not. So I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not like whatever. I just think especially offensively, you are going to need some more skill talent. I just think. Conundrum says, jealous of the Buckeyes. Sad. Trust me, I'm not excited to talk about it, but I like the 14 5-stars they have. It's like opening a garage full of Maseratis, man, and Maybachs or whatever fancy car you want. I need more of that flash on the offensive side of the ball. And you know what else? Defensive line too. But the first place to start is not losing the highest rated guys at every single class. 309, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on? Been a while. Yeah, I was calling it earlier, but I'm home with all 3 kids today, so I want to make sure I got a clear call. Don't have them yell in the background. So
there we go.
Time it out right.
I appreciate the effort, my friend. What's going on in old Bloomington, Illinois?
Oh, not much. You know, just going to the ISU Bradley basketball game, trying to get some of that fun in, take the kids there. But other than that, yeah, same old. But it's been a while, and first thing I wanted to say was how awesome it was to see Shane Gillis on that call. I couldn't believe it when that happened. That was hilarious.
Oh,
I got a
man.
real kick out of that.
I'm telling you, it was just that whole playoff ride was wild, man. The numbers were good. A lot of interest, call-in lines off the hook, like super chats, like we were cooking. Everybody was cooking. It isn't just me. Everybody in the niche was cooking. And then to know that guy listens and sat on a hold to call, it meant the world to me, man. It was a big deal for me.
That was awesome. Yeah, it was a real joy to see that with him calling in like that. I mean, I remember calling in last year during the season after the Northern Illinois loss and saying, you know, we were talking about, hey, best case scenario, let's just see if we can try to host a playoff game. And then here we go, pushing and made that run. It was a fun ride, and I'm really looking forward to you know, what the offense is going to look like next year. I think the passing game is 100% going to improve. Obviously, you lose a lot in the run game with Riley's legs and things like that. But I mean, hey, you bring in a guy like Malachi Fields. He's the type of build and body type that we haven't had since a Boykin, Claypool, Kevin Austin type of situation. He seems like he could be a real wide receiver 1. You know, Faison's only going to get better. Faison is twitchy. I mean, I think this offense could be really special next year. And we don't even have really a single question about the offensive line other than depth and who's the best 5. So I think this offense could be special.
Man, here's the thing, dude. Number one is the quarterback thing's going to give me anxiety until it doesn't. It just is, to see what direction they're going to go in. And all this focus on the run game and the offensive line and all that. Dude, this wide receiver thing, man, I feel like for a few seasons now, it's like, this is going to be the year they're going to be a plus unit and really break out. This is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it. And until I see it, it's just not something I could count on, but something needs to change there, man.
Yeah, it's fair. I think it's also fair to say, though, that whoever the passer is, they're probably going to be a better deep ball thrower than Leonard was. So I think they can be more explosive. And I think that Denbrock can get into his bag a little bit more, some deep shots. I mean, I'd love to see kind of those, you know, for all the faults, you know, people have with Chip Long. I mean, he would start off and have the defense on their heels. He'd always take a deep shot early to get people worried about something over the top with St. Brown, something like that. And it's like, you got to have something explosive like that with your offense.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? I am going to say this. I am going to say this, though. I'm a little surprised that I'm saying this. I honestly feel like the best Notre Dame's passing game ever looked was actually in the playoff. Like, it actually looked better to me. And Greathouse, I feel like, really stepped up in the playoff. And some of the best spots of the passing game all year happened theoretically in the biggest moments against the best competition. But I need something to change over in that room, man. You need 1 or 2 guys that actually scare people. It would open everything up. People that the defense is afraid could get behind them and burn them, and it loosens up what they could do. And they're not creeping their safeties down to the line every play, like not worried about it. Like, something's got to change there, but I'll believe it only when I see it.
Yeah. I think when you look back at all the wide receiver transfers, I think Fields is far and away the number 1 most proven and most NFL body type of any wide receiver we brought in. And then you have Greathouse, who's just an absolute tactician. I mean, I was surprised. He broke out in the playoffs, but I feel like he could have been playing like that all year. I don't know if it was just injuries or Riley couldn't get him the ball or what it was, but I think you have Greathouse, Malachi Fields, and Faison. I think those are 3 bona fide studs. And I think that you've got a guy, whether it's Carr, whether it's Minchie, whether it's Angeli, who can get him the ball. And that's with teams not even worrying about Love. So I do think that this wide receiver core is the most promising, you know, looking back at some of those other ones where it kind of felt like we were being sold a little bit of fool's gold on some of these wide receiver transfers. Yeah.
Maybe you're turning a corner there. And here's the other thing. Goolsby keeps mentioning this. don't forget about Cam Williams. Is this not a year where that guy should be able to get on the field? I understand he needed a year to kind of learn the system and adjust to college, and there wasn't a lot of terminology in his high school days. It was just more see ball, catch ball, run. I don't want to forget about that guy and his upside. And if he could contribute or get in there, that could help as well. I don't want to forget about his skill set.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I'm not too worried about the offense. I mean, even just looking at the 2025 schedule, say Notre Dame walks into Miami and squeaks out a 1-touchdown win. I mean, are there any games that the rest of the year they're not going to be favored? I mean, A&M's at home. Maybe that Arkansas line is like a 2.5, 1 point line. But other than that, I would feel like they handle business there. And it could be not smooth sailing, of course, but I feel like they'd be favored in 99% of the rest of the games in the regular season.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of national guys saying they would be surprised if Notre Dame was not a favorite by the time all these games kicked off. I've seen multiple national guys talking about this, being like, I don't know who Notre Dame's going to not be a favorite to or whatever. They might not be a favorite, but going to Miami week 1 is not going to be easy. And then I know you have a week off. Listen, Texas A&M is going to be better in year 2 than they were in year 1 under Elko. I can pretty much promise you that because I respect him as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I only other thing with the schedule next year too, man, I was really hoping that Stanford would have agreed to that Rose Bowl game because that would have been a bucket list. I would have had to buy that flight in a heartbeat because Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that would have been iconic.
Yeah. It's man. So I don't know. This is going to be a really interesting year, and it's so front loaded. If Notre Dame's in good playoff position by halfway, they could cruise to hosting a playoff game all over again. And if not, it's going to be a boring back end, man, because there is not a lot of excitement and needle movers on the back end of that schedule.
Yeah. Hey, only other question I had, you a bit of a deep cut with this transfer safety coming in from Virginia Tech. I don't know too much about him, but I feel like we already have a box safety in Schuler. I feel like we needed somebody who's more of a roamer back there. Is that something that Talich can do, or what do you think about this safety transfer?
That's a good question. Where I've been seeing people write about Talich, and like maybe he's an underrated guy. I don't know what people think about that, or what.
Yeah.
And some of the physicality there. And so I don't know what they're going to do. But again, that's what spring ball is for. I want to see some of these guys out here and who assumes leadership roles. What are you going to do with some of the depth? Here's the other question with that defense. People were talking about it. What about that defensive line? What about your defensive tackles? What are you going to do there? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think that Schuler, I don't want to ruin anybody's Friday, but Schuler's made it easy to forget about that Peyton Bowen character. That's for sure.
Yeah, good old Peyton Bowen. Remember that one? Oh, and his parents were on the Zoom call of everybody that was in the recruiting class at midnight the night before, and they were all excited to be to Notre Dame. And then the sun came up and he wasn't at Notre Dame. Isn't that just the way it goes? Yeah. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Schuler's been great. I just think he's a box safety, and I think that this Virginia Tech's Stroman is his name. I think he's just been more of a box safety too historically. So we'll see. But hey, I mean, I trust Mickens. He'll figure out to make it work. D line I think should be good with Logan Thomas, Bryce Young. I know Washington, has taken some flack for recruiting. I don't know how much credit you can give him for getting a legacy guy like Bryce Young with just a ton of upside like that. But the Logan Thomas poll and seeing how some of the ends have progressed has been good.
Yeah, it's man, Young he's a 3 and done, right? Like that's a 3-year guy and straight to the NFL, and long and just athletic, and it's great to see. Hey man, thanks for giving me a call. Have fun in Bloomington over the weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Take care. Bye.
Have a good one. My main man Martinez, I'm coming to you. Freeman just finished off year 3. Winning leads to better recruiting. Theoretically, I don't think there's a guarantee, but theoretically, you would like to think that having a really high quality season would lead to better recruiting. Where was Leonard Moore ranked? This is one of the biggest falsehoods about recruiting and Notre Dame recruiting and whatever else. You can always point to an outlier here and there of a guy that's chronically underrated recruited and underappreciated, and then he ends up doing good. The odds are not in favor of that, and you cannot build a recruiting class off of thinking you're going to get all these 3-star guys and everyone else in the country doesn't know how to judge them, but you do, and load up on those guys. That does not work. Everybody could go to a handful of guys that were like not rated, and then they end up being good. That is the exception, not the rule. And it is not all one or all the other. I've been saying this before. The bottom third of the recruiting class needs to be rolling the dice on traits and lower rated guys that you see something in. You can't get too reliant on that. My main man, Martinez, what's going on, baby?
Hey, Johnny, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I feel like I haven't heard from you for a little bit, man. What's going on?
Yeah, I've tried to sneak in here and there, man. Just had some things, man. Had to come, had some issues and had to come down to my parents' house. I'm in a different situation now, but life is good, man. I'm blessed. Just trying to stay focused. You kind of like Dr. John. I kind of needed to step away for a little bit because it's easy to get wrapped up in all the Notre Dame drama.
I know, man.
I mean?
And I know. And, dude, I had a lot of people reach out to me like that. They were like, John, you know I love what you do. You know I love Notre Dame and all this content. But, like, I need a little break. And then I'll be back when I'm ready to be back. And I don't hold that against anyone, man. Everybody needs to keep their sanity here however you can, you know?
Yeah, man. And, you know, you're doing fantastic, man. The week or few times afterwards, you know, seen on the chat, especially after that loss. Yeah, man, you could tell you was exhausted, man. I'm like, man, I'm worried about that dude. He's already high strung over here. That was hard.
Dude, I'm telling you, man,
something.
I needed a cool off period because my brain was shot, my nerves were shot, like I was totally running on empty, and I admit that. By the end of all that, I was running on empty, and I needed a couple weeks to rejuvenate, and now I'm ready for football again.
Yeah, man, you look fantastic, and I'm gonna try to make it out to that blue and gold game should my circumstances work out. But I really want to point out some facts. You know, for the last season, because I've watched the shows. I've watched them like afterwards. I've listened to them. I've commented on some things, but I haven't watched them live. Today's like one of the first times I got to watch live in a long time. But if you look at, you know, we were all bummed out. We were all like running on empty. We were all kind of like, man, we're overloaded. It's all done. But you know, as I sit and I thought, man, what an amazing. Like we all agree. Every ND fan out there agrees we had an amazing season. I think any ND fan, any true ND fan, can agree we had an amazing season. We won 2 major bowls in a period of a week, down to our 4th defensive linemen. You know, a depleted defensive team that just was honestly, Johnny, by far. I mean, people can contest it if they want. Maybe I'll get crap in the chat about it, but this is by far one of the best teams in college football has ever produced, because what other team is down to their 4th-string defensive lineman is competing for the national title and loses within a touchdown? You know what I mean? With like 10 starters out.
Yeah, you know that in retrospect, when I look back, I almost do kind of agree. Yeah. I'm like, maybe Notre Dame deserves more credit for what they accomplished. Beat to hell, man. They were not healthy, and I just like, maybe they deserve more credit than I'm giving them for even getting where they did with all those injuries. It was an outrageous amount.
I'll question you, but look at it this way. I was thinking, if you look at the old format, right, against Indiana, they would have won the first round. They would have won the second round. They would have already won the national title. In 3 games, they would have won the national title, right?
Yeah.
In the old format, in the 2 games, they would have won the national title. And yeah, man, I think as ND fans, we should be really proud of what happened last season, what they did, you know, and then now speed up to this merry-go-round of a carousel like they do as soon as the offseason is. Is Al Washington still there? Like I said, I've kind of stayed out of the loop a little bit.
Yep, Al's still in the band.
See, and see, you know what? I think, like I said, I always like to comment on him because, man, the job he did with what he was given, with the kids he had, the next man in, you know, and we got to give Al Golden the credit because, of course, he was a defense coordinator. He was the one calling the plays. But I mean, whatever drills him and Max Bola were doing with them young linebackers that was getting injured, as one was dropping off, as the other was dropping off, whatever drills, whatever encouragement, whatever was being said in those position rooms. And I would love to know, because, like, dude, what those two coaches did between those two positions, and nothing away from Mickens, because he produced the best defensive player in the country the last 2 years with Xavier Watts, right, and the cornerbacks. He did, and he did. So I'm so glad he stayed. But what Al Washington did and Max Bowler, man, with those positions, like injury after injury on those two positions, man, to me is nothing less of amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's man, it's just in the moment. Sometimes it's hard to appreciate everything that's going on. You know what I mean? And then when it ends, I'm finding more appreciation for a lot of this stuff now that all the chaos is over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And then, one last thing I'll touch on. I like the last caller said, I would love to see some wide receiver breakouts as well, man. I think this quarterback battle is going to be, one for the ages. I really do think. I'm like I said, man. I love Angeli, man. I loved how he looked in the bowl game. I love how he looked. I love how he looked in the bowl game back in El Paso at the Sun Bowl. But that again, that was a depleted Oregon State team. I love what he did against Penn State to give us that momentum going in to win that Orange Bowl. Like, I'm rooting for Angeli, but I mean, may the best man win. And I think whoever wins it out would honestly is going to deserve it, because, like I said, Freeman's smart, man. He knows what he's doing. The administration and organization, they know what they're doing. They know that we finally are to where we want to be. The momentum, like you said over and over, people didn't like Kelly because of his arrogance. They didn't like him because he was never there and this and that, right? But Freeman brought back that Lou Holtz spirit where, hey, man, everybody's electrified, rejuvenated. Reese Davis said it best, man, I've never seen this campus so electrified since the Lou Holtz days. So I think we're selling into a good offseason, man, and some good recruits coming in, and another amazing year, man. But we do have a heavy front schedule, and that makes me a little nervous, because we've seen what happened 2 years ago with that.
Yeah, it's man, there's a lot going on in this program, a lot of modernization, a lot of changes, a new GM, a new DC, a new quarterback. New change is the only constant, my friend. It's always the next thing. Hey, if you can make it to Blue and Gold, you're going to have a place to hang out at the old Always Irish tailgate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let me know.
Brother, one last question.
Sure.
Are you getting there Friday? You doing anything there Friday? Because you're not doing anything Friday, I won't fly until Friday.
Yeah, I think.
But if you're doing stuff Friday, I'm going to fly in Thursday.
Yeah, I'm going to be in town Friday, midday Friday, probably looking to go out and hit Eddy Street and cause some problems. So that's kind of my plan, is to be in middle of the day Friday and start causing trouble in downtown South Bend. That's my plan.
All right, man. I just don't want to have to bail you out, man. I'm done with that life, man.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It would make for really good content, though. You got to make sure you record it while I get thrown in a paddy wagon, right?
All right, buddy. Hey, man, I love you. Man, love the chat, man. Onward, Notre Dame, buddy. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you, man. God bless and good luck with all the family stuff, okay? Best wishes.
Thanks, brother.
Have a good one. Whoops, sorry. Cut him off on the end there. Swan Dog with the $5 holler. What's your favorite thing to get when you order Chinese food? The only Chinese food I'm going to ever order is orange chicken, because it's literally just rice and chicken. And it isn't all spicy and it isn't all weird. That is literally so of course, when John orders Chinese food, it is the most American version of the Chinese food. The only thing I will get is orange chicken. Even I like rice. It fills you up. You can't go wrong with rice. That's literally it. So I don't know, man. That's it. That's it. So whatever. All right, guys. Do I eat egg rolls? No, I don't even know. I don't even know what that. I'm not even entirely sure what that means. But no. And the only eggs I really eat, crab rangoon sounds like something you get after a night out with Pat at the adult club. I don't know what that means, but I know it doesn't sound good to me. It doesn't sound good to me. That sounds like an affliction, not something you would eat. So I don't know. Ryan, definitely not that. All right, you guys, we're going to end the show here before we get in trouble. This was a fun Friday. You never know what you're going to get. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Mustard, I am not a mustard guy. It is weird. I'm not eating mustard. That's just weird. Really appreciate the calls. Really appreciate the donations. And this is just, we're in between, you guys, and you never know what you're going to get when you're in between. Have a good weekend, everybody. I love this show. Thanks for being here always. Appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Be safe.